皆さんまた来てくださってありがとうございます。ということでこちらはニューヨーク土曜日の、夜です。今日はね雨がずっとしとしと降ってて、でもねサッカーはオランダが勝ちました。素晴らしい試合でした。ということで今日のビデオは2つをくっつけてみました。今アメリカの共和党のスタンスと、それから、民主党政権とビッグテック、ビッグテックっていうのはその巨大 IT 企業ですよね。アップルとかグーグルとか YouTube とか YouTube じゃなかった Facebook とかっていうその結託したチーム対、トランプさんとか共和党とかイーロン・マスクとかっていうスタンスの違いが分かるビデオだったので上げてみました。ということでどうぞ。
Congressman Musk says Twitter interfered with elections. Can we expect that to stop now that he's taken over?
Well, it certainly seems to be the case, and we're all waiting for Musk to publish various internal documents from Twitter that showed how they covered up the Hunter Biden story in the run-up to an election. I'm also very interested to hear how they reacted to COVID and the COVID origin in terms of it coming from the Wuhan lab. We know that Facebook declared that to be a conspiracy theory. Did Twitter do the same? So I think transparency here is something we're all going to welcome, and that's the way it should be.
I want to get to the China issue. I know you're very hot on China as a topic and as an adversary. Beijing just can't keep up with the censoring of all the people who are protesting and what they're putting online. What do you make of these protests?
Well, you were just talking about Tim Cook coming to Washington. I would love to ask him, as he has 70% of his manufacturing in China, what's it going to take for him to decouple? How many millions of Chinese citizens will be locked in concentration camps? How many people are being welded into their apartments or trapped inside a factory with true slave labor? Like, literally, what will it take? Will it take Chinese government machine guns mowing down these poor people for Tim Cook to get a conscience? I mean, at the end of the day, that blood that is happening in China is on Apple's balance sheet, and we in Congress should be holding them accountable.
Last one for you, Congressman. U.S. air marshals reportedly plan to refuse mandatory deployment orders along the southern border and even face possible termination. Look, we're in the middle of the busy holiday travel season. Shouldn't these air marshals stick to their current assignments?
Well, here's the thing that has me so worried about not having air marshals on the plane. In case no one noticed, Joe Biden gave an entire international airport to the Taliban, who are friends with Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and other terrorists in Kabul. They don't even have to sneak on the plane anymore to blow it up or crash it into a building like they did in 9/11. They have free, easy access right there in Afghanistan. So we need those air marshals on the planes.
You know what? The White House and certainly Secretary Mayorkas continues to deny there's any issue at the border. So I guess it begs the question, why are they trying to divert U.S. air marshals down there if there's no problem?
Yeah, that's right. The border was secure. Last he testified under oath. I'll remind everyone.
Yeah. And then they continue to ignore it, though, Congressman.
Yeah, look, they do. Thank God for Governor Abbott, for Governor DeSantis, and our other governors who are trying to take some kind of action. What I would love to see is actual military assets, not boots on the ground, but satellites, intel, drones, to go after these cartels. They are armed to the teeth. They are cooperating with the Chinese. They are causing this humanitarian crisis. And this administration, Mayorkas, and his boss, Joe Biden, are doing zero, zilch, nothing about it, except apparently diverting agents from where we also need them, which are on our airplanes. It's just asinine. It's ridiculous. And I'm hoping we can do something about it.
Yeah, makes no sense at all. As always, great stuff. Congressman Mike Waltz, thanks for joining us this morning.
Big tech companies are getting into bed with communist China, and it's having a chilling effect on the world. Apple CEO Tim Cook not looking so great after his company limited a key iPhone function used by Chinese anti-COVID lockdown protesters. Cook tried to smooth things over by meeting with lawmakers on Capitol Hill, saying the changes were meant to boost security. But watch him act like a total coward when confronted by Fox Business reporter Hillary Vaughn.
Hi, Mr. Cook. Do you support the Chinese people's right to protest? Do you have any reaction to the factory workers that were beaten and detained for protesting COVID lockdowns? Do you regret restricting airdrop access that protesters used to evade surveillance from the Chinese government? Do you think it's problematic to do business with the Communist Chinese Party when they suppress human rights?
That comes as we get a disturbing new report on how China used TikTok in order to tip the scales in our midterms. Apparently, accounts run by the propaganda arm of the Chinese government have accumulated millions of followers. They were bashing Republicans and praising Democrats without really clearly disclosing they were being posted by a foreign government. So Hillary Vaughn really drew some blood out there on old Timmy, didn't she?
I got to tell you, Hillary Vaughn is now my hero. I mean, she just had one after the other after the other. Look, how disappointing, and that's a very soft word, is it that the head of Apple is literally taking a position that the Chinese government wants, the only country in the world that wants to limit airdrop so that the protesters can evade actually the policing by the Chinese communists and communicate with each other. Because once they're identified as protesters, they're taken in, they're beaten, and we never hear from them again. And for Tim Cook to not answer a question when it is so anti-democratic, and it's all about the money for him. And then to watch the opposite of that with Twitter and then the Hunter laptop on top of it. The United States government is now in the business of suppressing free speech, and they're doing it for political purposes, and that is just plain wrong.
And Elon Musk said he's going to release some information about the suppression of the laptop, and we'll bring that to you if we see it come in. So the CEO didn't say a word. Is that a good strategy, or should he have stopped and talked to our very own Hillary Vaughn? And what Elon might be releasing to the world about the Hunter Biden cover-up?
I am interested in that because I think there's a lot that's been happening we know has been happening, and he's going to give us confirmation of that. That's what I expect. But to Harold's point, because you sort of mush together about four different things. Part of that is the U.S. government. Part of that is Apple. But the way you talk about it, it's as though it's one entity, which is the most concerning thing we face in this country. Big tech and big government
I didn't mean it to
getting
say it that
together.
Way.
Okay, because yes, Apple has to worry about market share. Above market share is human freedom and having access to talking with other people, coordinating protests, and standing up against an authoritarian, murderous regime. That's what Tim Cook could have allowed. The United States government, they have to figure out what is our foreign policy? How do we interface as a country with China? But to the judge's point, these inalienable, God-given human rights are above what Apple might make appeasing the Communist Chinese Party. Elon Musk, in contrast, made Starlink available to Ukrainian people so they could coordinate and get themselves and their families to safety and also have some sort of a vigilante offense on their own. Tim Cook could have done the same thing, opening up airdrop to these desperate people. They're left holding up white pieces of paper, blank pieces of paper to symbolize what they would like to say, but they cannot because they have been silenced by the communists.
I'm not on